Hi, this is Mark Harrison with my learning walk through my unit on vectors and complex numbers in my trigonometry course. I copied this over from the 632 Sandbox into Canvas. It was a pretty easy transfer. Okay, so here you see the overview. It's called Vectors and Complex Numbers. I give a little verbal overview to the students. They can read through this. I give unit objectives next. There's a section for general instructions and help. This was added at the suggestion of some students who previewed the course for me. I give general instructions. Here's contact information for me. And I've got a little discussion board for technical help. So students should post questions about technical difficulties in this discussion board. And I offer students the opportunity to answer each other's questions. I'm hoping they can be a resource for each other. So after that, I arranged my unit into 3 days. Each day has a series of activities for the students to complete. Some are videos and some are interactive. There's a quiz on each day, and some of the days include written assignments that students can complete and either scan and submit or take a picture with their phone and submit. And I even offer them that they can return to school and bring those to me when they return to school, since this is envisioned as the snow day unit. Okay, so as far as communication, my unit contains links to email and discussion boards. I envision email as the primary contact point between students and myself, although they can contact me on the discussion boards. They can ask for technical help. Each day also includes a discussion board, help on concepts, and that was also a suggestion by users. And again, I offer that students can answer other students' questions. That could build some community. That comes up later. And I also indicate that if students aren't comfortable asking for help on the discussion board, that they can email me. I suppose that if a student asks a question that I find worthy or interesting, that I could remove the student's name and post that to the discussion board. Or if I get a number of questions that are the same, I would certainly consider addressing that through the discussion board. I hope to add a shareable whiteboard component at some point that would allow collaboration, but since this was envisioned as an inclement weather unit, I didn't put that in. I didn't really feel the need for synchronous lessons in this unit because, again, it's a 3 or 4 day unit to be done during a snow day. So I think that we can get away without synchronous instruction. If it were part of a course that I was teaching primarily online or was exclusively online, I would certainly include synchronous instruction. But I think the discussion boards give some opportunity for building community. I went through and compared this with the QM standards. I found that it was a little bit weak in course overview and introduction, and again, part of that's because I will probably be teaching these students. They'll know who I am. I will have gone through all of that in person. The unit's introduced well with objectives. Let's go to those objectives. Here we have unit objectives, clearly stated, and an outcome. I think this format was from one of the earlier readings we did in this class where we've got goals, objectives, and outcomes. And so that's for the unit. Each day has a similar goal and objective. It's got daily goals and daily objectives. And so it's pretty robust as far as goals and objectives. The structure of the unit is logical, intuitive, but it's not spelled out verbatim as the QM standards suggest. Learning objectives are clearly stated both for a unit and the day of each unit. Assessment and measurement are aligned with the unit and daily objectives. I need to include a scoring rubric for the open-ending culminating project, which I'll get to later. I do include assessment on each day of the unit, and this allows students to reflect on their progress. At this point, I've got those quizzes set up so that students don't see their grades at the end, but it's easy enough to change that so that they see how they're doing day by day. Many of the assessment activities are online quizzes, but there are other types as well, including pencil and paper, written assignment, and an open-ended assignment that allows for some student choice. Still with the QM standards, all of the criteria for instructional materials are met. I address learner interaction engagement as well. I could include more opportunities for students to interact with each other, but I think with the addition of these help on concepts, discussion boards, that's going to take care of some of that. Each day has the help on concepts. And I hope that students would feel comfortable doing that. I think I do need to include specific activities where they're required to interact with each other, and I need to develop a rubric to make sure that that happens. I feel course technology is a strength. I discovered in testing this that one of the interactive online activities didn't work for several students, so I included a brief explanatory video which cleared that up. I think all of the technologies are up to date and accessible for most home computers and smartphones. I could do maybe a little more in the area of student support. If I implement this, I'm going to provide some additional completed notes. I do include notes. I include fill-in-the-blank notes that students can complete with their textbooks. Now, I assign students a textbook to take home at the beginning of the semester, so every student should have a textbook at home. These notes could be completed, though, from online resources. So if a student happens to forget their textbook, they could still go through online. And I do have completed notes. Here I'm going to show you the files I have here. Here are the notes with the key. These are just the notes that I've posted to the flow of the lesson. But I can direct students to these file pages and they can access these notes with the key. So these would be filled in. I think I would do that for students who receive accommodations. I might even blow them up or have them, I might read them. Just narrate the notes so the students, if they have language difficulty or reading difficulty, they'd hear the notes read. Okay, the course is accessible in that most of the activities can be rendered by a screen reader. NVReader will be able to read the PDF and DocX files for the vision impaired. I might need to include some auditory descriptions of some of the visuals, but otherwise it's accessible. Okay, then I approach this from the Unicall standards. Standard A, I feel I have a good grasp of the primary concepts and structures of online instruction. Standard B, I do employ a range of technologies to support student learning. In Standard C, specific criteria for collaboration is lacking, but active learning, application, interaction, and participation are addressed in each activity. Clear expectations, this is Standard E, clear expectations, prompt responses, and regular feedback. I actually had a student work through this, and she posted a question. I responded to it in under 10 minutes. So, hey, plus for me there, regular feedback. Each day has a set of outcomes and objectives and clear directions how to proceed. And so more direction perhaps about how to use the discussion boards would help, and some criteria for insisting that they use the discussion boards and scoring that. I think I need to include that. Standard E, legal, ethical, safe behavior. All materials are OER Commons or were created by me, so there shouldn't be any copyright issues. Students don't need to give any information to third parties to access any of the resources. And students can only see their own results on any of the online activities. So there shouldn't be any FERPA difficulties. Standard F, diversity needs. I don't specifically address diversity needs, although there are multiple modalities of instruction and assessment, so that should address some of that. Let's look at some of these activities that I talk about. Here's a pre-quiz. This is a a standard online quiz. We go through and we select an answer. And so that's one of the, there are several activities like this. There's one of those. Here's an activity where students are asked to do a manipulation. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a video. I won't subject us to this. I should look at day 2. Here's day 2, one of these adding complex numbers with GeoGebra. And this is one that some students had difficulty accessing, so I had to make a visual to go along with this. And so here students are manipulating this. Here's one number, here's another number, and they add them together, and the green arrow is the resultant. And so there's another activity like that. And I asked students to comment on that in one of the discussion boards. And I got a student response on that. I was very pleased about that. There are a number of videos, both from Khan Academy and some that I created. So there's many different modalities of instruction and assessment. All right, standard G, assessments. I think the assessments are varied. A number of them are online quizzes, but again, there's a pencil and paper, and there's also the open-ended assignment at the end. Security may be an issue. I suppose it's possible for the students to cheat on the assessments. They're mostly online quizzes. I don't know what would motivate students to cheat on that. I suppose it is possible. Standard H, authentic assessments. Many of the assessments are not authentic in that they're online quizzes, but the culminating project is authentic and does involve student choice. I keep talking about that. How about I pull that open now? Here is the vector problem and presentation. Now I do need to create a rubric for this. I guess I've got to start on a rubric here. It asks students to create a problem involving at least 2 bearing vectors from a real-world scenario. I give some suggestions. I'm hesitant to give too many directions because I don't want to dictate to the students what they do. I'm hoping that some of them will do video presentations very much like the explanations videos that I created. I'm hoping some might make some visual representations. Pencil and paper would be fine. So here it is. They're to involve at least 2 bearing vectors. They need to find the horizontal and vertical components of all the vectors in the problem. I want resultant vectors. That's a concept that they'll learn. I want magnitudes and direction angles. And I want the final answer as a bearing. So this is a problem that has many, many real-world opportunities for students. They can pick areas of interest. And I think that that's going to be something that the students buy into a little bit. I don't address standard I. Standard J, professional behavior. I hope to behave professionally. I've never had a problem with that before, so I assume I can continue to behave professionally. Standard K, instructional design. I think it's a strength of this unit for me. I think it flows logically from the beginning to the end. Each concept builds on the previous concept. There are opportunities to practice the concepts. And so I think that's a strength. All right, now as far as praise, the flow of the activities led logically so that objectives are mastered in a reasonable order. New skills are introduced and older skills are reinforced. Students who tested the unit reported they were able to complete the activities in the order they were given, and the instructions and the videos were helpful in achieving the learning objectives. So I felt good about that. Polish. I think more student-to-student interaction is needed, and more emphasis on assessing that is needed. I need to make better use of the discussion board and include a scoring rubric to go with it. I need to create a rubric for scoring the final project. And I hesitated to do this initially because I don't want to dictate the type of activity the students choose. Some questions to ponder. How can I make the unit more colorful and engaging? When I looked at some of my classmates' units, they had colorful videos, engaging with music and flash and flare. And my videos are Sal from Khan Academy or myself. I wonder how I can make it more colorful and engaging. And that leads to the next question. Will the students buy in? Are they going to do the tasks? I have confidence that they'll take the online quizzes. They're simple enough, and they don't take too long. I wonder if they'll do the reading before and after the quizzes, though. Will they use this information to learn, or, you know, are they just going to click through and be done with it? And then, will they do the homework? Will they do the pencil and paper activities, and will they submit the homework? How much of this can I reasonably expect to assess? Can I give it the weight that I would give a face-to-face class? I'm not sure. I know I'd like to, but I don't know if that's going to actually be the case. Now, I was delighted that one of my students whom I've really tried to reach, a student who has ongoing health concerns, was able to work through this unit. She did not attend school during the regular vectors unit that I taught, and I won't say that she got everything from the vectors unit that the students who were in the face-to-face class every day got, but she certainly got more than she would have if she just tried to come in and make up what I did face-to-face. And so in conclusion, if this unit did nothing else, it certainly had value for that student.